6 years ago, our very own Reverend Deb Plitta began this tradition as her final project of for the School of Ministry. And every year it has become a tradition for the School of Ministry students to plan and execute this lovely service each year on the first Sunday of December. I recently heard a woman say that if she had been asked if she wanted to incarnate into the human experience, knowing that she would have the opportunity to physically feel the full range of human emotion, anger, fear, and of course the pain of loss, but also hope and peace and joy and deep love. Without any hesitation, she said, "Yes, I want to feel it all." And while we do miss our loved ones so very much, we are so grateful to them for the opportunity that they provided us to feel love and joy, and sometimes some of those other emotions as well. And it's because of them that we have known love and joy. And they aren't with us in our human experience any longer, but we do know that they are with us in spirit, still with us in relationship, and still able to feel our love for them and us, their love for us. So we begin our service by singing our prayer of the Child of Love, and I'd like to invite you all to stand to sing that with us. It's right on the front of your songbook.
Holy God. I'm Rob Flanders, and I invite you to place your feet on the ground. I invite you to sit up. I'd ask you to open your hands and place them open on your thighs or in your lap, a sense to receive. I ask you to experience the connection of your feet on the floor, and to experience the energy from Mother Earth as your feet draw that energy up into your body, allowing that energy to flow up through your shins and your calves and into your knees, up through your thighs, into your pelvis and your groin, and up into your abdomen, allowing the warmth of the mother to flow up, and into your heart, and allowing it to continue, and as it reaches your neck, it gently flows down into your shoulders, down into your biceps and triceps, and into your elbow and your forearm and your hands. As that happens, notice how your shoulders soften and how they just naturally drop. And allow this energy to continue to flow up into the neck and up into the crown of the head, allowing it to be released into the heavens. And allow that same energy that has gone upward to come back in, connecting above and below. I invite you to allow this energy to come to your spiritual heart. Be aware of its radiance and how it, of its own, radiates outward. And that you are that radiance. And notice how that radiance continues, that it's not bound by this that we call body. And that it expands, if you will notice, that it includes your brothers and sisters beside you and in front of you. And if you allow yourself to experience that energy and continuing to grow, it's there. We're noticing. And it fills this room. And we begin to notice that the illusion of separation diminishes. And we begin to experience the connection of the souls in this room and those on camera. And we allow that radiance. We know that radiance continues to grow. And we know as it goes to all that is. That we are not this body. So allow that awareness to begin to come back. Gently and lovingly back into this that we call the body. Remembering that as we return to this flesh, that that's not who we are. And that connection remains. And that we are one. Allow yourself, your breath to begin to deepen as you return. Allowing your eyes to open. And as these physical eyes open, recognize that we are one.
So we'll take this moment in our service to fill our hearts with gratitude for all of the blessings and gifts and abundance in our lives. We are so grateful for all of these beautiful blessings that we live with every day, all of the beautiful beings that we have experienced in our time here on earth and are and will in the future. And we thank everyone for your generous donations to the fellowship, whether you are giving online or giving today. John will bring the basket around, and we appreciate your donations. And while he's coming around, I invite you to say the blessing of the tithes and offerings with me. You'll find it on the inside of your bulletin. Through these tithes and offerings, we celebrate the flow of divine love and give thanks for the prosperity we share. Together, we experience the blessings of grateful giving. I always have enough to share and to spare. Thank you so much for your support. And we'll hold those feelings of fullness and abundance in our hearts. And now our reading.
I am a second-year Fellowship School of Ministry student, and the following is a reading from A Course in Miracles. You see the world you value. On this side of the bridge, you see the world of separate bodies seeking to join each other in separate unions and to become one by losing. When two individuals seek to become one, they are trying to decrease their magnitude. Each would deny his power, for the separate union excludes the universe. Far more is left outside than would be taken in, for God is left without and nothing taken in. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it. Across the bridge, it is so different. For a time, the body is still seen, but not exclusively as it is seen here. The little spark that holds the great rays within it is also visible, and this spark cannot be limited long to littleness. Once you have crossed the bridge, the value of the body is so diminished in your sight, you by it. For you will realize that the only value the body has is to enable you to bring your brothers to the bridge with you and to be released together there. The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in the perspective of reality.
Thank you, Ian. That was just a perfect reading. Thank you. And we're going to stand up and sing a fellowship song together that also reminds us that we are headed over that bridge ourselves at some point. And if you would stand and turn to page 20, we'll sing On the Highway. Remembrance and connection, and I will let them introduce themselves as they come up.
Good to go, I guess. Good afternoon. My name is Johanna Johnson, and I am a first-year School of Ministry student. And I'd like to take the opportunity just to thank all of you for being here and receiving us as students today. It's really lovely to be here with all of you. So I have to admit that when we were given the task of creating a remembrance service, it was a bit of a struggle for me. You see, I grew up in a family whose ancestry firmly held to the British requirement of a stiff upper lip. We didn't show a lot of emotion when someone passed away, and we certainly didn't discuss it once the funeral, or more often than not, graveside memorial happened. And it often happened months after the fact. As a truly sensitive child, it was very strange to me that these individuals who were connected to us seemed to just disappear into thin air. Truly because nobody talked about them after they were gone. So as I began my own exploration about this topic, it was my grandmother who showed up for me. I had a very close connection to my grandmother on my mother's side of my family. Her name was Pearl. As I delved into the concept of remembrance a little bit more, I realized that what I was actually longing for was a deeper connection to Pearl, a relationship with her. How was I going to do that? She's not here physically. And that was a challenge for me. So I decided to do a little research across cultures about remembrance services. And what I discovered is that they have some common elements. And one of them is storytelling. Whether it's the Mexican tradition of the Day of the Dead, which, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with Halloween. I didn't know that, so I was educated. Or perhaps the All Saints' Day in Christianity. Or the tradition of taking a walk about in remembrance of someone in Buddhism. There is also, within all of these traditions, the recollection of stories that are shared about the individual. Stories help us to connect. We have an opportunity to think about that person's personality traits, quotes that they may have said, even antidotes in their life that can be helpful in ours. And in sharing these stories, it affords us the opportunity to allow our emotions to flow. It allows us to be in relationship with others when we tell the story. And it allows us to create a stronger fabric within our own family history, generationally, by passing stories along. Storytelling in our own culture is somewhat of a lost art these days, and I found that to be personally quite sad. I can't say that I would call myself a storyteller, but I can say today that it's something that I might try to aspire to be. So I'm going to share a story now that I created about a memory I have of Pearl, my grandmother. Are there any Downton Abbey fans out there in the audience? Anybody? Oh, a few of you, good. So those few of you will get this reference. My grandmother reminds me most of the character of the Dowager Countess. With her British ancestry, my grandmother was a very elegant, graceful, stoic, well put together woman who kept an immaculate household. She was also an incredibly generous, compassionate, kind, and giving person. She was an excellent listener, and she was terribly patient with my younger sister and I during all of the times that she was asked to care for us, which was a lot. So the title of my story is The Shining Pearl of Union Street, also known as Leadfoot. The story takes place in Peterborough, New Hampshire, which is a quaint little New England town where Pearl and her husband, Forrest, resided. Note that her husband, Forrest, is the town veterinarian. That will come up in a moment. On this particular day, Pearl is anxious to go downtown to Roy's Market because she needs to buy a pound of fresh liver and a pound of shrimp for her calico cat, Jolie. Jolie's a large cat. Her stomach drags on the floor when she walks. That's how large she is. And Jolie is allowed to eat this liver and shrimp, by the way, on the kitchen countertop. Now, this is the wife of a veterinarian. One might think she would know better than to overfeed her cat, but I think this was a loving relationship, and I think she wanted her cat to be well loved, and she did that through food, and that was okay. So now back to my grandmother's trip to the market. She got into her red Mercedes-Benz, which she was quite proud of, and she roared the engine up a little bit, and she took off down their long driveway and entered Union Street. Now, Union Street goes past the town playground and the ball field and the public pool. I believe the speed limit is about 35 miles an hour for obvious reason. Pearl had received a number of warnings in the past about her speed. Thus the name Leadfoot. On this particular day, as she traveled down Union Street in her red Mercedes-Benz, enjoying the ride, I'm sure, on this beautiful summer day, she noticed something very out of the ordinary going on at the playground. And she continued to watch it as she was driving past until she was brought back to reality by the sound of a siren and blue lights. Uh-oh. She slowly pulled over to the curb and awaited the officer's appearance at the window. And she was sure she was going to get the same speech about, Mrs. Tenney, you really need to slow down your speed a little bit. She was anticipating this. But she was also really anxious about what she had seen out the window. She wasn't quite sure what to do about it. So at any rate, the officer appeared at the window and she was prepared. And as he leaned in to speak to her, he said, Mrs. Tenney, do you know why I've pulled you over? And she said, yes, I do, sir. And he said, well, Mrs. Tenney, we need to talk about your speed. And she said, well, officer, I was in a hurry, you see. I need to get home and tell my husband that his horses are out. And the officer looked at her and he said, Mrs. Tenney, you're headed in the wrong direction. You're not headed towards your home, you're headed towards town. And she said, officer, I understand that, but look. And she pointed to the ball field, and there indeed were 7 of my grandfather's horses standing there grazing, just as calm as they could be. And when the officer saw that, he, of course, encouraged my grandmother to hurry home and tell my grandfather to come and collect his horses off of the ball field before school got out, because the ball field was going to be full of children. So my grandmother got off again. She made a Yui, went back to the house, got my grandfather, and the horses were collected. What I loved about that story as I thought about it and wove it into a story was that it was humorous to me, and it made me joyful. There's not a lot of memories that are about my grandmother, particularly, that are humorous. She was kind of a serious character to most of us. So the power of storytelling is amazing. It can connect us with an individual in a new way. We can learn something about ourselves, we can learn something about them, and it can be quite healing to our emotions. A photograph is a wonderful way to ignite memories. I did bring this one to share. It might be a little hard to see, but that's my grandmother in the middle there. This is a photo that was taken on her 90th birthday, and she's flanked by my younger sister and myself, so 3 generations of us in this photo. And it was my looking at this photo and meditating on it, actually, to connect with my grandmother, that recalled the memory of that story that was told to me about my grandmother. I didn't directly experience that. That was a story that my mother had shared with me. I, in turn, shared this story with my son, who visited me yesterday, and he loved it. He was fortunate enough to know his great-grandmother very briefly. He was about 3 years old when he passed. So to hear that story was an entirely different experience for him. He saw her in a new light and in a different way than what his 3-year-old mind could have possibly recollected. So I'll leave you with that. And in your pamphlet, you got a piece of paper that has an exercise on it that if you feel called to try storytelling for yourself, there's some prompts on there to try out. And you'll find also on the back table as you're leaving, where the food is laid out, some resources for further education about storytelling and its relationship to healing from grief. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Ross. I'm in the 3rd year of the School of Ministry. Happy to be here with my fellow students this afternoon. As I've gone through the School of Ministry and my healing journey, my views on losing a loved one to various forms of crossing over have changed dramatically. I lost my mother and my best friend within a couple of years of each other, back before my healing journey had started, so we're talking 10 years or more. And I'll just be honest and tell you that it really threw me for a loop. I was devastated and depressed and kind of lost my way. However, the universe sought and found the right people to put in my path at just the right times. And through my interactions and relationships with these different people, I have come to view, and I don't even use the word death anymore because it sounds so final. And I don't think of it as final. I think of it as easy as crossing into the other room. So these are just some realizations that I've come to see as truths when it has to do with losing a loved one. The first one is that we are eternal spirit with a body. We're not a body with a spirit. We're a spirit with a body. And this brings hope and comfort and serves as a reminder that we are truly never separated, for we are connected by the oneness. And the crossing over of a loved one, the losing of a loved one, cannot separate us from the oneness. So this is probably the foremost important truth that I've come to claim. in my heart and in my soul. Our connection to each other can be accessed always through opening of the heart space, through our thoughts and intentions. So again, this perceived separation of a loved one crossing over is just that. It's perceived separation. And it is through the opening of our heart and our thoughts and our intentions that we're immediately connected right back to our loved one and to the greater oneness, which is within each one of us, ever present, ever present. Our grief we experience should be nurtured with patience and compassion for ourselves and for others. There is no time limit on grief. The grief, you see, is an expression of the love that you shared with that person or animal. And, you know, I'm pretty sure everybody in this room would agree with me that, you know, we can't base our journey and compare it to someone else's because we all walk our own individual path. But it was a wonderful truth for me to absorb, that there is no time limit to grief. And what grief really is the expression of the depth of love that we felt for that person. So, another wonderful truth that I have come to claim. The connection that we share continues beyond our loved one's passing. Our memories and thoughts reach beyond the earthly plane and unite us with the eternal spirit of which our loved one abides. And whether we're walking the earth or in the ethers and in the realms of glory, we are always, always connected. And as I said a minute ago, it's through the opening of our heart and our intentions and our thought process that we're able to tap into that oneness. The everlasting bond of love we shared with our loved one is an eternal connection that time and space cannot divide, which is basically another way of saying everything else that I've just said. The connection of love lasts forever. And if you have ever, I'm sure everyone here has had a loved one cross over, when you're telling stories or sharing with other family members funny things or sayings that that loved one was known to say, I know I have experienced the feeling of their presence among us. And, you know, since we are eternal spirit and not just physical bodies, that seems like such an easy thing to do. It's through the opening of our mind and our heart that we actually experience it. So I've gone from feeling devastated and depressed and losing purpose in life to finding so much joy in the connectedness and the oneness that we always share. Thank you for listening. Sorry, got Ellie's cord.
Hello again. Loss is hard. It's hard for everyone. It's something that touches every human being. And it's something that cannot be postponed or delayed or evaded. The season can be especially difficult for those of us in mourning. But I suggest let's try to embrace the loss by changing our perception with meditation. We embrace loss not for sorrow, but to make our time with loved ones here and now all that much more precious. We also focus on the good times and the good deeds of our loved ones that made the world a better place. Our faith reassures us that our dearly departed are in spirit with our Creator and within us in our own divine spirit. This eternal spirit dwells within every human, is a bridge that connects us to those who have gone before. This Spirit connects everyone living or past. Prayer is talking to God, and meditation is listening to God. Meditation puts us in direct contact with our divine Spirit and all of our loved ones. Learning how to meditate and commune with the divine Spirit is one of our most powerful tools that we can have as humans. So this season, let's meditate and connect with our divine Spirit and loved ones in a very real, healing, and meaningful way. Thanks.
Do you remember when, as I began thinking about my part in participating in this remembrance service, that thought, that question came to my mind? Do you remember when? As that thought came to me, my mind became activated. I started initial searching of the hard drive and looking for the person or the experience or the pet. It was like my memory was just waiting to be activated. It was just there. I don't know if you, when I said, do you remember when, if that you had a similar kind of experience. It's like, you know, what's next? Remembrance is the act of remembering. When Mary let us know that we were going to be participating in the Remembrance celebration, I began thinking about and contemplating remembrance. What came to me was not people, not experience, not pets, or even this world. In that remembering, what was presented to me was a longing, a remembrance, if you will, of who I truly am. The longing to awaken from my dream. The longing to awaken from the illusion of the ego. To be that which I really am. An old, deep remembering, faint, and there, calling to me. Something beyond the world, beyond worldly thought. An idea forgotten, and yet remembered. Old, yet new, and everything I want. I'm glad for the remembrance. I'm glad for the longing. As painful as I might experience it at times, as frustrating, as angry, as I feel at my slow progress, my muddling, clumsy effort. The ancients tell us that we cannot not want to awaken and become awake. That we remember not in vain, that when we wander in error, we are lovingly led back. That which I forgot, I can remember. As the Course reminds us, no one can fail who seeks the truth. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you did not stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, and their melancholy was horrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own. that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. You remember when you were one with all that is?
We have one more little bit here from Julie Ross, and she's going to be talking about what's being handed out here.
My fellow students, Rob and Ian, are passing out incense sticks to each of you. And this is just a physical tool that you can take home with you to connect to the spirit of your loved one. So place this in a little dish or a little bowl. It will drop ashes. And light this and spend some time just meditating and connecting with the oneness and with your loved left one. You can extinguish it and use it multiple times. You don't have to let it burn all the way down when you use it. But we wanted to provide you with just a little something to take with you, that you can continue this process of connection at home on your own. So thank you very much.
What a lovely, lovely service. Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Damon Participles. And I just want to say, and I hope you share my thoughts, that we here at the fellowship are so fortunate to have these four lovely, loving hearts sitting in this room with us and a part of our School of Ministry. I am just overwhelmed at what you brought today and what you put together. It's just been beautiful, and so you should be very proud of yourselves. We certainly are proud of you. One more applause for them. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, virtual watchers, as well. We're going to stand now and get into our peace circle and say our closing blessing.
Like